Sitting at an elevation of 2,500 feet in central Pennsylvania sits the former SCI Cresson prison. Today, the grounds are owned and planned to be renovated, but in the meantime, they are open for tours. But even before it was a jail, these grounds have a long history that we will be going over during this exploration. Opening on land donated by Andrew Carnegie, the Crescent Tuberculosis Sanatorium opened in 1916. As we've covered on other videos of TB hospitals, the prevalent belief of the time was that the best treatment of tuberculosis and other diseases was fresh air, making this land on the Allegheny mountain ridge ideal. The wardrooms typically contain a bed, table, and a chair, along with a wooden partition for privacy. By 1950, a vocational training school was added to teach patients commercial and high school subjects from the comfort of their beds, and a rehabilitation program for the healed patients was started as well. Oh my gosh, yeah, that thing's covered with some naked ladies. There's a few more, but I ain't touching it. Naked ladies. More ladies of the evening. Added on their door handle. A nurse training school had been around since 1919, with many students being young women who had recovered from TB at Crescent themselves. This was the main area they'd come in. Oh wow, this is largely untouched. So this would oversee the whole complex. Building JK, admin, tunnel. Yeah, this an old game of life. More pills. Like antacid, Tylenol, office supplies, keys. Oh, here was a little play area for like kids. All pieces of vegetation. Check out how the floors, see how they all have a slant, so there's like no corner. This was like maintenance. An interesting footnote is that Helen Keller and her teacher Ann Sullivan made several visits to this hospital, as they were friends with a nearby philanthropist who made numerous donations to Crescent. Helen even gave a short speech, with her teacher's help obviously, to the children at the sanatorium. This is a copy of her actual speech given on September 20th, 1920. The photo you just saw was taken at the sanatorium in 1926. Most children that were here at the time did not actually have TB, but had come into contact with someone who had, and as a precaution, were brought to the sanatorium to get healthy enough to fight it off. Look, all these, they're blinkers, aren't they? No, they're plastic. What are those? Detector to operate. Dust cover for smoke detector. So they maybe assembled them here? Instead of license plates? Yeah. This was like the woodworking shop in here. They had everything so nobody could get it out without express permission. And then there's so you could look and make sure nobody's coming up on you with a fucking saw blade. Tunnel system. Oh, I bet it used to be maybe back in the day, and then they sealed it off. Got a washing area here. Yeah, they had a wash for this whole entire thing. What is that? A presser? Buffer wheel, black polish, something for shoes maybe? Look at this puffy chair too.
It's because somebody probably sat down here for hours working.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, for shoes?
Some sort of, yeah. Yep,
You're right. Soles probably. Head wire, rubber head, heel nails.
So yeah, just all for shoe repair, so they kept track of everything. Yeah, the sizes for each, the dimensions for coats, and here's some stuff still written on here. Like meetings or something. It's hard to decipher. Check this out. It's some sort of, because that's the entrance to the prison right there. So this was like a fax sheet they had to send to people. Statements, yeah. As antibiotics and drug treatments drastically reduced cases of TB, many sanatoriums closed, and Crescent followed suit, becoming the Lawrence Frick State Hospital in 1956 for the treatment of the mentally handicapped. Yeah, here's block workers, peer support, institution codes. That's for all the different prisons in the area. So this was, yeah, like medical, they would do checkups and like the first things here. This is the medical building. All incoming prisoners were inspected for diseases. Nursing treatments. Just a checkup room, yeah. As a sanatorium, before the invention of the drug streptomycin, the only medical treatment against TB was collapsing the patient's lung via surgery to allow it to rest and heal, which prior to 1950 had to have the patient sent to either Philadelphia or Pittsburgh hospitals for this procedure. What the hell was this? Audio meter testing. So this is what they would test their hearing here. Here's a walk through. Fisher, one styro, no spoon. So like he was like.
Probably known for trying to create like.
This might be solitary. This could be solitary confinement, and like no seafood. I don't know, but yeah, like bed just in the middle of a room. Down. X-ray machine. Here must have been all the X-rays for prisoners. They had them all alphabeticalized. Here's where they kept shirts, boxers, t-shirts, everything. And look at that. Dentist office, I'm assuming. And here's articulating paper, glass slab instruments, contra prophy angles. Hey, look, somebody dropped a soap. More biohazard. And then these must have been sick, like for infectious people that had to be quarantined. These are probably what these couple of rooms were for. Over the roughly 50 years of treating tuberculosis, several thousands of patients were treated here, many never walking out again. The sanatorium had both Protestant and Catholic chaplains, and before its construction in 1914, services were held in the dining room. Oh, check out these drapes with the cross still on them. Look at how they had like scenes from the Bible up here, but you could open and close them, which is kind of strange. Oh, there's a bird in here. The services were broadcast to patients who could not attend. Gosh, yeah, that leads right up. And the bell's still there?
Yeah.
The bell's still there. It's just the back area. And there's the infamous door. The back offices and tunnel were added in 1949.
Offices. Yeah, here's 2013 when it closed, their last thing. Catholic Mass, choir, Jewish service, Native something, Catholic Mass, because they had to have each different one. This is where you could buy all your different religion things. Like here's Buddhist, you could buy a Tibetan spirit. Christian, Catholic, obviously crucifixes. So like if you need to buy your religious things, Rastafarian, Muslim, here's housekeeping plan. Yep, here's some old hockey sticks. Indoor workout, yeah. SCI Cresson.
Possibly one of the strangest athletic games to occur at Crescent took place back in the early years of the Sanatorium, when over 600 patients and family members gathered to watch the Altoona Midgets baseball team, comprised of entirely, you guessed it, little people, to play a game against the young boys of the Sanatorium. The home team lost 5-9.
Saddam Hussein has a job, do you? Here was the mail ballot, so you could send your mail out. And here's like, an abuse hotline. I'm wondering if this was like visiting, cause like, see, yeah, like there was mail there. Here was abuse things.
They got some beds over here.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe this is more like.
Or this could be like the infirmary. Check this out. They had H block and they had white, black, Hispanic, other total. So they for some reason had them by race. And yeah, this ATA infirmary hospital.
It must be like for just like gang affiliation and stuff like that.
That could be. You're probably right.
People stayed amongst their
This was somebody's work gloves. They had them labeled so that way they would know whose was whose. And that's still labeled unit manager, unit secretary, unit PSS. Right.
In 1973, an educational film was made at Crescent showing the fictional story of Charlotte, a former patient going into a group home and preparing for life on the outside.
Bye, Charlotte, and good luck. Thank you.
The mental hospital operated until 1982. 2 years later, it began the renovation into State Correctional Institution Crescent. Several of the older buildings were torn down, while some, such as the administration building, were renovated at the cost of just over $20 million.
Maybe like just holding cages for just something outside, or like people that, exterior time.
It's cold in here. Oh, I better get the light on.
Yeah. Yeah, here's a control room. They got all the marked as stuff. There's handcuffs, tethers, metal detectors, toenail clippers. I hear people. Some respirators and stuff. Computer procedures to open doors and stuff. And then there was to slide things in and out.
The triangle-shaped cell blocks designed for the new buildings would become the blueprint for future prisons built across the state. It opened in 1987 and held around 1,600 prisoners in the medium security prison.
use the bathroom, I guess.
While the majority of inmates were here on non-violent charges, also housed here were infamous killers John Dupont and Joseph Gallagher.
Oh, so here they had a double. But yeah, it's weird. None of these had bathrooms. I guess maybe you had to call out. And there.
I bet it was right here. The toilet was probably
Oh,
here.
you're right. They took them out.
Because they got the-
Yep. Sure, they had the showers. I'm assuming they had a thing so you didn't. Not everybody on the block had to watch you. Just electrical. That's
Yeah, push in handle.
must be, but yeah, you ain't getting in there if you don't want. And then they had theirs access so they could get down and escape if like a riot or whatnot. So this went down, yeah, probably the one below. Here's their food spot. It's rusted shut. But that was so they could slide the food trays in and out. The showers, here's the one with the doors. They were like cages. It's literally a cage that they would put them in, like a horse thing almost. And come, all they had is a button to push. And shoot out water there. This, somebody would, they stuck like old banana and fruit things all over their wall. Here's an old inmate request to staff member. So you'd have to like make a request for whatever you wanted or needed, and then there was a response. Here's an old institution notice. PCI item number changes. So you could order your food or whatever. Like you could, here's ramen noodles for 28 cents. Orange juice, tea. Time of remembrance for Hilliard Lee. He must have died. Razors, they would collect razors for shaving and stuff. There's still a couple in there. And they would put, so that way they could tell they got one for each person. This is a strange room in here. It like was for multiple people. They even had their own table. So it's like either people they like for some reason wanted to quarantine, but in a group. Oh my gosh, this guy was a little pervert.
He's a horn dog.
Don't touch that, whatever you do.
A Philadelphia shoemaker, Joseph Gallagher, murdered one of his sons in 1974, and then proceeded to go on a crime spree with his other son, where they robbed, tortured, and raped 4 families over the following 6 months, which culminated with the murder of a nurse. He was sentenced to life in prison, despite claiming that God had told him to kill his son and nurse Maria Fashing.
A little classroom or like a learning center or something.
In 1990, he was transferred to Crescent and spent 6 years on suicide watch before having a heart attack and choking to death on his own vomit.
More offices. Here's a bunch of like old office stuff they left. Choir, like choir things. This was like audio.
Hey, I wonder if they have any tripods in here we could take. Oh, they do, look.
Check out this mural though. Still smell like grill.
Yeah. I was gonna say food, but I think grill is a better
This, yeah.
word for that.
I smell it in there too. It's like, it smells like almost like Burger King.
Yeah. Yeah, seafood.
Oh, check this out. Biohazard. So this was medical wing maybe up here. Job posting. Electrical engineers.
If you were
Nothing. station. Yeah. What you got there?
Strike team.
What?
Oh. Who's that? So this
Incident.
must be the chain of command.
Yeah. Commanding chief. Here's look at those little outcomes.
Figured that'd be in a shot.
Some sort of training, maybe. Education. Must be a big
Oh yeah. Oh,
locker room. Oh, somebody left their clothes here. They're dirty undies.
Next was John Dupont, the only person to be on Forbes' 400 Richest Americans to be convicted of murder. The founder of the Delaware Museum of Natural History was convicted of shooting Olympic wrestling champion Dave Schultz in 1996. Despite being evaluated as mentally ill, Dupont was sentenced to 13 to 30 years jail time and placed in Crescent before eventually being transferred to SCI Laurel, where he died in 2010 of COPD. Now, I want you to remember these cases as we go into history of the next decade.
So this was the superintendent's conference room, according to the layout. You can see you can see the outline of where the table was.
Crescent came under fire in 2012 when special needs prisoner John McClellan Jr. got a letter to his father detailing how 5 guards beat him and then filed false charges against him. Another prisoner would later tell how guards frequently tormented McClellan and told him to kill himself until he finally did. In response, the Justice Department launched an investigation of prisoner abuse at SCI Cresson along with SCI Pittsburgh, and they uncovered some startling facts. At least 3 anonymous employees at the facility came forward saying they were threatened with both physical violence and false charges by authorities if they raised any concerns.
So you could open or talk maybe to each local lock, unlock, individual group. Must have been like maybe a small little like a break room or a lunch room maybe. Just in a little indoor library even maybe. Multi-purpose is what that room was. You're right, yeah, there were more. So it was just like maybe a small cottage or something that like for overflow or for certain, maybe like lower or higher security. They had it all laid out so you could see like it would light up which door. So it was like bottom floor, top floor. Old like latex glove that's like just molted from being here for so long. Check this out. Nice.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah, this is the one with the yeah, look, here's some death sentence commuted. Muhammad Abdul Jamal, death sentence carried out. Officer Daniel Faulkner, PA justice system at work. These guards were a little unhappy.
Prisoners in isolation would go through 5 phases to be released back to general population. They would all be brought in as Phase 5, and if they remained free of misconduct, they would eventually come down to Phase 1 and be released back to the normal cell block. At Crescent, correction officers were found to essentially have stalled the phases, resulting in an indefinite isolation for prisoners such as McClellan. One of the chief guilty parties in McClellan's mistreatment was found to be head psychologist James Harrington, a man who had at least 10 civil rights cases brought against him since 1995, some alleging abuses of mentally ill prisoners. A behavioral plan co-written by Harrington was described as barbaric and featured a punishment of 6 days in a cell block with no mattress, blanket, or clothing. During this time, the prisoner was only given an anti-suicide smock, fed only what was called a food loaf, and no psychological treatment. Other punishments consisted of isolation time of 2 or more years, despite reports stating extended isolation increased the chances of mental health issues and suicide rates. Another such permanent Phase 5 prisoner was Tracy Petrovito. Sentenced to life for arson and murder, the man with an IQ of 70 was due to come up for parole around the time of the investigation. Instead, he was found to have been sleeping naked on a bare concrete floor in isolation. Though he had anger issues, rather than be put in any anger management classes, Petrovito was thrown into solitary. Guards denied him even toilet paper, making him wipe with his hands, and then not even giving him soap to wash before mealtime, which he was given no utensils for. The tiny window in his cell was unable to shut completely, leading to freezing temperatures in the winter months. Meanwhile, Harrington knew about this torture and did nothing. One anonymous source even claiming that he forced Petrovito to sing "I'm a Little Teacup" in front of the board before he would review his case. An unidentified solitary prisoner tore open his scrotum after spending 3 months in isolation. In the 3 days prior to his incident, the man said he was hearing voices, smeared feces on himself, and ripped out a fingernail. He stated, "Mental health won't listen to me, so I'm pulling my nuts out." Sometimes 2 prisoners were put in solitary cells together, usually with one or more being a violent or predatory offender, leading to an incident where one poured boiling water on the other. But the torture was not limited to solitary. General population inmates could also expect to be restrained and tased, amongst other things. And in May 2012, a man hung himself after his repeated requests for mental health treatment went denied. Published by human rights activists, those sources said the psychology department at Crescent was, quote, totally corrupted and needs to be flushed and started over with new staff. In 2013, the DOJ released their findings. Prisoners with serious mental illnesses were found to have been locked in their cells for up to 23 hours a day. Basic necessities were denied, and excessive force was used. An over-reliance on isolation is a response to inadequate training on treatment of those with mental health.